There's no real rhyme or reason of why they pick the guinea hen out. They just pick out these guinea hens. One day I'm working inside the farmyard and I'm kind of doing some repairs on cages and feeding the animals and things. Earlier I fed the animals and gave them water, and I was repairing. I kept hearing this commotion going on in the guinea hen cage. And I'm looking over there, I'm like, what are those guinea hens doing? Man, they're just so mean. I look over and they picked out this one little guinea hen. He's a small little guy, and he's running around the cage, and two of them are just chasing him, jumping on his back, pecking the back of his head. Every time he'd go get some water, he'd put his head down by the water, and they'd jump on his head and push his face in there. And then if he'd go get some feed, they would jump on him, and they would just continue to peck on him. And I was watching this for about an hour or so, kind of getting irritated inside, kind of going, man, what is with these birds? They're just so cruel. What is with these guys? And I kept going in there, I kept thinking, I just need to go in and rescue that guy. And so finally I couldn't stand anymore. And I went and I rescued out the guinea hen, and I took him out and kind of pushed the other guinea hens away, and put some medicine on him. I put him in a different cage. And I went back to working on the cages. About a half an hour later, I heard the commotion building up again. I walk over, and they picked out another guinea hen. Now they're chasing this one around. And in fact, the one they're chasing there was the one doing some of the biggest chasing of the other guinea hen earlier. And I look at this bird, I go, that is ridiculous. And they'll actually keep on doing it until they kill that guinea hen. That's why we have to rescue them out. Now this one right here, we've had this guy right here for many, many years. I've taken him to many schools and many churches around San Diego. And this guy right here, he was picked on for a long time by guinea hens. And I used to be able to take him, and he doesn't really live with any right now, so he's kind of free on that. But I could take his wings back and show the back of his skin back here, and there'd be no feathers. There would be nothing but raw skin all the way down, and blood marks all over his skin. And when I would show all the kids inside the school that I was out of the church I was at, I would show it to them, and all the kids would go, oh. They start to weep. Anyway, and you get a little upset. And sometimes when we think about this, we feel really sorry for the guinea hen. We look at this guy and go, man, that is so ridiculous. That is so crazy. That's just like a lot of junior hires. Because junior hires have this time of their life that they can get very cruel. They can get very cruel, and they kind of gang up on people. And some of you are going, well, Festus, I don't know what you're talking about. Not me. I've never picked on a guinea hen in my whole life. I've never done that. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, I did it once, but I got a mouthful of feathers, so I never did it again. Okay, so you've never picked on guinea hens. But you don't think twice about ganging up on different kids around your neighborhood, different kids in your school. And you know who I'm talking about. You pick out somebody who's a little bit different than you. And usually it isn't one person doing it. Usually it's a little gang of guys or girls that come in little groups, and there's usually one person who's leading the gang. There's usually one person who's in charge, and they're the ones who do most of the cutting, and the other people around them, they start adding on to the things that this person here in the front person's saying. And I watched it here at camp. I can watch it here at camp. I can watch some of you walk around in little groups because you kind of hang out with people that are like you. And there's certain groups I've walked around camp who and in fact, they're the ones usually who don't have trouble listening because it starts to penetrate a little bit in the kind of person that they are. And you watch these little groups walk around, and so it's just a couple groups, not everybody. There's a couple groups, and they walk up, and there's always this lead person, and everybody else just follows behind. And when this person feels like they see somebody they don't like or they don't different than them, they'll start making comments, and everybody else jumps around and goes, yeah, and they start adding their little parts into it. The crazy part is the reason that those people are following that one guy or that one girl is because actually they're afraid of him. They're afraid of him because if they don't join them, then that person might turn on them. And so what happens, I don't know, if you're the king person, if you're the front person, to realize that a lot of your friends that are following you, they're only hanging out with you because they're afraid of you. And I don't mean afraid like, scared. They don't trust you. They don't trust you. They think you're going to turn on them. If they ever say, hey, let's not do this anymore, because inside you're hating it. Inside you don't want to do that because the Holy Spirit, through the heart of Jesus, is in you and you don't like it. But you'll follow this person who's doing this, and it pains inside, but you're not willing to say anything because you're afraid that person's going to turn on you. So you end up having this friendship that's kind of ugly. But what happens is with these birds is they do this to each other, and we get upset when the bird does it, but we don't necessarily think twice. And you know the kid I'm talking about in your school. You know the person that just doesn't quite fit up to your standard, your opinion. And then what you do is you go after pick on that one person, and you know just how far to push that person before that person gets in trouble, runs off or cries, or the neighborhood or whoever it might be. There was a girl in my 6th grade class when I was growing up. Her name was Laura. Laura's a neat girl. She was really a great girl, but there's a lot of kids in my class that used to really punish her. And what they would do is, it sounds kind of strange, but they found this one thing about her. She's a little bit different. I remember she had this really black hair, this really white skin, and she would wear these long dresses. And so she kind of stood out a little bit in our class, and the kids, they started cutting her down on this one thing when they found out something about her one time. And when I tell you what it is that they found out about her, you're going to understand why they cut her down. Are you ready for this? Laura, she liked airplanes. Can you believe that? Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Sometimes we look at people because they're different, and we hurt them because they're different than us. And so what we do is we go out and we make fun of them, and we do these things to them. And that's what they do. It doesn't have to make any sense. It doesn't have to make any sense whatsoever when we do this. And with Laura, that's what they do. They call her names of airplanes. And some guy would do this. Happened almost every day in school. She'd walk down the hallway, and a guy would stand in front of her, and they would start calling her name of an airplane. And another guy would stand here, another guy would stand here, and a couple girls would get around her. And almost every day, there would be a circle around her every day, and they would just call her names of airplane. I can still remember Laura. She would drop her head, her hair would hang down, and she would just stare at the ground, and they would just call her these names. And then if the principal walked by, or the teacher, they'd pick their head up real quick, and they'd walk away, and turn around and walk away, and pretend like nothing happened, and then Laura, she'd pick her head up, and she'd continue on down the hallway. You know the worst part about that story is, you guys? Here's the worst part about that story. Is that was a Christian school. All those kids in my class were Christian kids. Those were followers of Jesus, who didn't have the same heart as Jesus, and didn't care about people. They saw some things about her that they didn't like on the outside, that were different than her, and they went after her. It sounds a little odd, a little strange, but you could say the kids in my 6th grade class were guinea Christians. These are Christians who go out and they actually hurt each other and cut each other down. And maybe you are one of those Christians that goes out and you don't really care about people, and people follow you. You know this bird right here, what they also do when they're flying in big flocks in the sky, when they're flying along, and you'll see something really strange happen. It happens really fast. And they're flying along, and all of a sudden you go, whoa, did you see that? And everybody looks up, and they look at the flock up there, and they're like, hey, what was that? And nobody saw it. They go, well, that was what's wrong with that flock? You know, that was kind of weird. And so, hey, watch the next time. They're flying along again, and all of a sudden you're watching them, and boom, it happens again. You go, hey, look. Everybody looks in the sky, and it looks normal again. Everybody's like, you're just trying to fake us out. There's nothing going on. But if you watch carefully, what you'll actually see happen, it's kind of strange. It only happens for a couple seconds. They're flying along, and they all of a sudden scramble, and then they fly normal again. This big flock of birds going along, and all of a sudden they go scramble, and they fly normal. Well, if you're really watching carefully, what you'll actually see happen is that one guinea hen is flying along, and he dive bombs and crashes into another one. Plow, hits this one, and this one, plow, crashes into this one, and he tries to catch it, boom, he crashes this, and they catch their balance again. Now, for years, scientists would study these birds and go, what is with these guinea hens? Why are they going and crashing into each other while they're flying? Are they trying to become the first guinea hen? Are they trying to work their way up in the flock? What's going on with these guinea hens? And finally, the conclusion came to this. The guinea hen is just flat out mean to each other. That's it. There's no reason they found anything else except that the guinea hen is just flat out mean. And we look at this bird and we go, that is ridiculous. That is crazy. What is it about this bird that they just do mean stuff? And then we look at this bird and we go, you know what? There's a lot of people who do exactly the same thing. We just do mean things to people. We don't even think about it. Things like mean things to our brother and sister. We don't think too much about them sometimes. In fact, we kind of go, well, my brother and sister really aren't real people, so it doesn't really count. And they get kind of irritated. How many of you got little brothers and sisters that bug you? All right? All right, put your hands down. You don't think twice about this. You kind of do these mean things. You'll be walking down the hallway, and your little brother's walking along, and he's been bugging, he's been in your stuff, and he's kind of irritating you, and you walk past him, and you go, psst, and hit him in the side of the head with your elbow. You just keep down the hallway, and your little brother goes, they run to tell your mom, and mom comes in and looks at you and goes, come on, what are you doing? You go, oh, I just bumped into him. I didn't do anything. And your little brother's like, no, and you know what you did. And we just do these mean things, and we do these mean things to our friends at school, like the girl I was telling you about a minute ago. This guy just tripped her. We just do these mean things, and we don't think too much about them. There was a boy named Lloyd. He was also in about 6th, 7th grade when he came to camp. Lloyd, he was a great guy. I love it when Lloyd came to camp because he's actually a pretty funny guy. If you ever got to know him, he was really humorous. He had these great jokes. He was very imaginative and very creative. He could come up with these great games when he'd come to camp. And a lot of people liked him, and they loved to be around him. In fact, down in the dining area, there's pictures of all different kids, and there's a picture of Lloyd. He has red hair and these big glasses. And I just loved it when Lloyd would come to camp.